Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen, and today I'm going to talk to you about two important things. One is a surprising, not so well-known tax haven that I think is really wonderful, and hence I will explain it a little bit to you and see if it is something that it might be right for you. And second of all, I will answer the question of where it is that I was in the last video, which actually is, the same country as we are today, so you can kind of see from the perspective of where I am here and get some idea. So let's dive into discussing those different topics here today. And we will kind of go for a little walk, a little journey. We're in an area here where we're going to do yoga soon, so hence I don't want to disturb them. So off we go in this direction, and we will see what we can find. Okay, so a few things. First of all, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Michael from Offshore Citizen. If you're interested, we help people with international relocation, tax optimization, setting up companies, bank accounts, things of this nature. And you can hit the subscribe button, book a call with me, calendar.com/Michael-Rosmer. There's a link in the description below, and I will see you guys hopefully in there, or send an email through offshorecitizen.net. Okay, so where am I? Well, I am in the beautiful country of Oman. So if you have not been to Oman, Oman is in the Middle East, so that's probably fairly straightforward. However, I think one of the things that's really cool about Oman is that people don't really know very much about it at all. And in fact, I find that people generally misunderstand the Gulf region, okay? So I find they have lots of different ideas about what they think is going on in terms of rules and all this kind of stuff that turn out not to be true. They have different ideas about the weather that turn out not to be true. And one of the awesome things about Oman specifically is that the idea of the geography is unexpected. I could show you pictures or videos from places, for example, near south called Salalah, or Nirwa, or a bunch of other different places where it's like lush and green and filled with beautiful trees and waterfalls and things like this. And you would think, wow, that is not the Middle East, but it actually is in the Middle East. And so it turns out that Oman is, like, who talks about Oman? I don't know anybody, I don't know out there who's sitting there saying, wow, Oman, what a great tax haven to move to. But actually it's a zero personal tax country, no personal tax whatsoever, 5% VAT. Corporate tax is 15%, so not the greatest place to have a company. They do tax dividends from foreign companies, so it's a bad place to have a holding company, so I wouldn't really recommend it for that. But as a place to live, it is surprisingly underrated, and hence I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. So let's just talk about kind of who it's for and why it might be exciting for you. So let's just go through a little simple scenario of saying if you wanted to have a zero tax country, right, just straight zero tax as a place to live, where do you go? Well, you have Dubai, right, pretty obvious. You have a couple other places in the Middle East, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, maybe Saudi Arabia if you can kind of make that work, etc. You have Monaco, as long as you're not French. You have a few Caribbean islands. So there's not like actually that many options. And hence a lot of people will ask a question, which I'm going to answer in a future video, which is, if not Dubai, where, right? I live in Dubai for most of the year. That's wonderful. I like it a lot. But there are downsides of Dubai. So one of them is lack of nature. So a lot of people find that, well, it's not green, it's not got all this nature. Yeah, they're working on, with Vision 2040, making it 70% green space and things like this, but it's kind of artificial. They'll say, it is a place that has a lack of culture, right? It has no soul, it's kind of artificial, etc. I don't know if I agree with that, that's kind of personal taste, but it is certainly true that they just don't have history and much deep, rich culture that is kind of permeating the experience living there. It's usually kind of new buildings, new people. It's 90% expats. And so as a result, the experience of being there is simply not a deeply kind of cultural, historic one. Let's contrast that to Oman. So Oman, first of all, another thing about Dubai, I guess, is the weather, right? The weather is often kind of hot during the summer. Well, if you're in Salalah, for example, which is in the south of Oman, it's where the Sultan, previous Sultan grew up, that is a place where the weather never really gets that hot. So it's pretty temperate, and that's pretty excellent. It's sort of rainy season then, but by rainy season, it's still not that rainy. Like I said, it never gets overwhelmingly super hot. but yet it's a 0% tax place. You have a lot more local culture permeating. I mean, it's mostly locals, not foreigners, so very different in that sense. It's an older country in the sense of kind of establishment. So you've got, castles and fortresses and various different buildings, etc., that date back, around 1,000 years was kind of the period when it was really established here as a major trade route between China, India, like that part of the world, and Africa, Europe. So very cool in these regards. Lots to see and to do if you want to engage with this. And so it has like a much more, like a much more real, soulful feeling for a lot of people. And so you basically nail 3 of the things that people dislike about Dubai while having a lot of what you like about Dubai. So there's nature, there is history and culture, and the weather is better depending on where you are. Like if you're in some areas, then certainly it's hot. And so there's that. People don't really know about it so much. I'm quite bullish on this country becoming much more popular over the next 10 years. I will do another video about residency, talking specifically about the residency options. But let's just kind of go through some basics. 52% of the tourists who come here are from the GCC. That tells you something. It's not really discovered by Europeans, by Asians, by people from Latin America, etc. So there's a lot of room for people to come here from other places and to check it out. It makes a ton of sense that people would want to, say, have a villa down by the water in this beautiful, verdant, green area. On the other hand, like I said, you get 0% personal tax. Amazing. It's not totally unrestricted in terms of where foreigners can buy, etc. Again, I'll talk more about that in a future video. It's not as accessible as some places in terms of residency, although there are some residency options that are quite easy. And so again, I'll discuss that in the future. Like I said, not the biggest fan of the idea of building a company here, but if you're looking for an alternative to Dubai as a place to live that's going to give you amazing tax treatment and what is a pretty good quality of life, I think this is a great option. It's quite clean, it's quite safe, so it's got those things. Yeah, I was kind of looking at first, if you kind of can see, it's a very blue sky here. The sense, not to be fair, I'm in the mountains right now, but I had this idea that, well, maybe the air quality was better, but in researching it, it's pretty marginal. Depends on where you are, obviously, but it's not especially amazing air quality in Oman by any stretch. So that's maybe a bit of a disadvantage. They have a fabulous opera house here. The last sultan was a really big lover of the arts, so he built the first opera house in the Gulf region. It is amazing. It's technologically advanced in ways that I've never seen in any opera house anywhere. They have a rich theater scene throughout the year. That's very cool. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you can go and check it out. The cities here are, I would say, less convenient. Muscat is quite spread out. It's a place that you're generally speaking going to need a car for. It's not really a place to get around otherwise. This is not an especially cheap country by any stretch. The Omani Real is a strong currency, and some things may look cheap until you do the conversion. Then you're like, oh, it's not outrageously expensive either, but it's definitely not cheap. So yeah, this is a place if you're interested. You can. I'm curious to hear in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And if you're thinking about some alternatives, I would definitely suggest visiting. It is fairly well connected by air, certainly very easy to come from UAE. It's like an hour flight. And it's really just a place that most people are not paying attention to that is worthwhile, possibly for investing. I'll talk about, again, about kind of my perspectives on the investment side of it in a future video. But as a place to live, well, definitely as a place to come as a tourist. You should definitely come in that regard. But even if you don't, if you kind of want to go beyond that, then as a place to possibly have a home, possibly have a base, add it to your list of considerations. Obviously, nothing's for everybody, but definitely add it to the list.